what I've learned about myself, the 5th of June, 2026. I'm done masking, done putting on a happy face to disguise my pain. I'm done with trying to fit into a world where I clearly don't fit. I'm done with trying to hide the parts of myself that might not fit in with the status quo. It takes so much energy to put on a fake persona for the world. Just trying to fit in takes a tremendous amount of energy and can cause me to burn out just by not being myself. I no longer fear the judgment that has left me feeling boxed in for my whole life. It is time to show the world my true self, for better or for worse. I'm no longer ashamed by the things that make me different, and if you don't accept it, then you are no longer worth my time and attention. It is time for me to be myself. I will only be able to become the person I am meant to be if I am authentic to myself. I no longer fear the judgment that has left me feeling confined to a box that was never my own creation in the first place. Wanting to fit in has only left me feeling empty inside for far too long. I finally feel the confidence to show my true self to the world. It feels liberating. Confidence can be seen as the willingness to receive social injury. And I no longer fear what anyone else might think of me. All that matters now is how I see myself. I'll no longer be the weak person I once was, hiding my true self from the world. Think of me what you wish. I no longer give a fuck. So that's the one thing that this process so far has helped me discover about myself. I now have become more in touch with who I truly am within me, rather than having to feel an obligation to put on the persona that that I had first created and have been following for my entire life. I could never put my true feelings online, and I no longer want that to be a limiting factor in what I'm able to show about myself, show about my struggles, since all the people that I am inspired by and aspire to be like have done exactly that. They don't give a fuck what people think about them. And as much as I say right now that I don't give a fuck, I'm not quite all the way there yet. I've gotten a lot further than I was just a few weeks ago or a few months ago. But that fear of judgment that I've been running away from my entire life, I'm starting to face head on. And I've never felt so good about myself. And why would I ever go back to a place now where that can't be the case? I just feel that as soon as I would fall back into the familiar patterns of old, that's just going to lead to my next depression. Because from what I've heard in some of the podcasts now, the root of the word depression comes from the word suppress. So if I am suppressing what I believe to be my true self, then obviously that will lead to another depression. So this is me. This is me putting myself out there. Every day I'll be able to feel a bit more comfortable to just keep doing this. And even just today, I feel so much better and lighter than I have even just yesterday. Yesterday was a fucking shit day. I had so much anger that I could feel coming out for the world and directed at certain people. But then one of the reasons why I had a lot of that anger is because I thought that those things cannot necessarily be solved. But what I've also realized is everything comes down to communication. And that's something I've always struggled with. I've struggled with that for multiple factors, just because I've never grown up in a space where communication, um, like real communication, has ever really happened. And I've also, there's also been other factors, such as me being very isolated when I was younger, that didn't teach me a lot of the communication skills that I would have needed. But I can't think back and regret that I didn't have those in the past. I can only take responsibility for learning and taking my new communication skills forward for the rest of my life and facing every problem I have head on. I'm done with sticking my head in the sand, letting myself be walked over. It's now time for me to take charge of my life. And what I've noticed is every single event that I looked at as really bad at the time has actually led to bringing me back to the path of who I've always thought I was meant to be, but then had been pushed back into who I thought the world wanted me to be, which is not my true self. And again, what happens is I go through these loops where I had a lot of these thoughts a couple of weeks ago, and then I fell back again into the familiar patterns of old, of telling myself that I don't deserve the new life that I want to create for myself. So I've been having a lot of fun, but I've also run into some challenges along the way of trying to break through 30 years of conditioning. And it will never be finished. If you ever, I've noticed that if you ever get to the point where you think your work has been done, you become complacent and you regress back to the mean. So I'm dedicating myself to daily self work and self improvement, and just being able to finally be able to learn to control where I take my life from here, not be controlled by and influenced by my addictions. But even those were just coping mechanisms for me not being able to show my true self. This feeling of constantly hiding who I am. And with every layer I've managed to peel back of that, I've noticed the wanting to resort back to these coping mechanisms being dramatically decreased. And everything is just a process. I was always putting so much pressure on change now, as opposed to realizing that change, if you want lasting change, it is a process of becoming. And even just here right now, I'm getting goosebumps thinking of what my new life could be, all the adventures that it's going to take me on. But these adventures are not going to be like the crazy cool adventures that I had in my 20s, which I had some fucking really cool experiences and adventures, but I was miserable in those events and in that time frame that, when I look back, was something so instrumental and so pivotal in my life, and just so positive to look back on. But in the moment, it constantly felt like my world was falling apart, because it was in a way falling apart. The persona I created was falling apart while I was trying to maintain it. And again, it's just been so invigorating and so giving me so much more enthusiasm, because every fear I've started to face has not been nearly as scary as I made that fear out to be. The fear of putting my real self online seemed like such a scary task, but I faced the fear. It broke down the boundaries that I created for myself, and I'm feeling the best I ever have. Obviously, there are still their ups and downs. I've had things that have gone wrong recently that I still feel churn up inside of me, and that's what happened yesterday. But I've put support systems in place to now help me deal with that. And I've also met some super cool people that share my story as well. And that just shows you that things are all working out in the greater scheme of things. I thought that all my whole 20s had been a failure, only to see that the experiences and skills I picked up over my 20s have actually prepared me for the person that I want to be, and given me the skills that I've needed for this new path that I want to take my life. And it might be frowned upon by some people. Some of my friends might not get it. Some of what the world has told us to do might not gel with where I want to go. It's no longer about becoming successful, chasing money. I'm now chasing what I believe to be my purpose. And I'm going to keep pushing. And I'm going to keep learning. And I'm going to keep making time for myself so that I can get where I want to go in the time that it needs to take. No quicker, but if it takes longer, that's also okay. And that's just it. Everything's okay. Every bad event that's happened. And as soon as you can be okay with it is when you can start to process it. So I'm feeling great. I've got some cool sessions today. I'm going for a Reiki session soon. I've got a TRE session later. And yeah, exciting times to be alive. So thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.